In this screencast, I'm going to be taking my Google Slides presentation and turning it into a Nearpod activity. So this screencast is just to walk you through that process and show you what it looks like from the teacher perspective. So these are slides that I already have built out that I would normally use as just a shared screen slides presentation in class. So I've got my warm-up, agenda announcements. This is normally where I have my Zoom meeting norms, but I put the Nearpod norms there. Just some content, the assignment. All of these are links to Schoology assignments. So like if I open this one up, it takes me to the period 5 version of this assignment. That way students can click on those directly in the presentation and not have to like send any extra links or try to explain where to go in Schoology. It'll just take them right there. This is an activity that we're going to do collaboratively, and then the exit ticket. So these are the slides that I would normally use just on a normal day. To turn this into a Nearpod activity, what I'm going to do is come up to add-ons and select Nearpod. If you don't have Nearpod as one of your choices in the add-ons tab, you'll just go down to get add-ons, search Nearpod, and add it. So once you have Nearpod, you'll go to add-ons, Nearpod, open Nearpod. You should be able to log in to Nearpod with your Colonial credentials. They pay for access to Nearpod, so that should be all you need to get started once you've got it added to your add-ons. So once you're logged in and you hit open Nearpod, you've got this little toolbar on the side, and these are all of the different activities that you could insert. So for my warm-up question, I would like to make that something where everyone can post. So I'm going to create a collaborate board to replace my warm-up question. And my topic description, I will just put the same question. So I'll put warm-up. What is one thing you are looking forward to doing over spring break? And you can pick whatever style you want. And if you wanted to, you could put a picture and save. So now this slide is going to replace my original warm-up slide. So I can delete this slide now because I've got a Nearpod activity there for my warm-up instead. So whenever you have a Nearpod activity, it's going to replace whatever you originally had as a slide. Because I don't want kids to respond in the Zoom chat, I want them to respond in the Nearpod. So I've got my warm-up question. This is just going to be a content slide, so I'm not going to add anything here. But then on Tuesdays, we play Trivia Tuesday. So we always do a Kahoot on Tuesdays. So I'm going to add in web content that will direct them to Kahoot.it in their Nearpod. So when I move on from that slide, it will automatically pull up Kahoot and they'll be able to play right there in the Nearpod. Then this is just going to be content. I'm going to leave this as content because the actual assignment that they're doing is in Schoology. So in their Nearpod, they'll click on the class period that they have me and it will redirect them to Schoology. And then here for our collaborative document that we're working in, I'm going to copy that link and again add it as web content. So this is a Google Doc that anyone that has the link has access to. So we'll be able to collaborate again right in Nearpod. And I'll delete that extra slide that told them to open it because it will automatically be open for them when I go to that slide. Then the last thing I have is the exit ticket. So I'm going to copy this and insert an open-ended question. And I'll paste that, do my formatting. If you want to, you can enable audio recordings, add a timer for your question, add images, do all of that stuff if you wanted. I don't really need to do that for this question, so I will just save it. And if I wanted to, that question was like, how confident are you in your ability to do this thing? I could have added a poll and give them like a scale of 1 to 5, or there's all kinds of different activities that you could add using this bar. So again, I'm going to delete that extra slide. I probably didn't need to put any of those slides in there, but I just like to put them in as placeholders so that I don't miss anything when I'm making the Nearpod. So that is everything that I'm adding to this one. I'm just going to click on save and go to Nearpod. And that will bring up the lesson in Nearpod for me to use. So I'm going to allow pop-ups, and we should be good now. Okay, so you can see it's saving all my slides here. And I'm just going to show you also what this looks like from the teacher's perspective and the student perspective. So the first thing that you want to do when you're starting your session is decide if it's going to be student-paced or live participation. If it is student-paced, then students can work at their own pace through all of the different slides. If you choose live participation, then you as the teacher are going to be advancing students through the activities and controlling what's on their screen. So I plan to use live participation during my Zoom meetings and student-paced if it's an activity that students are completing on their own, or for students that are absent from the live meeting to complete later. So I'm going to go ahead and start live participation. And this gives me the Nearpod code. I can copy this link. So I might have students all join the Zoom meeting, put this link in the chat, and then it will redirect them to Nearpod. Or I could give them the joinnearpod.com and give them the code, whatever works for you. So all of your students will join. While they're joining, you'll have like a student list, and you'll see everybody that's joined in before you get started. So on collaborative boards, you can either approve student comments before they're posted or just automatically accept their submissions. So I don't want to approve them. I want them all to pop up as they're doing it. So I'll hit no. And I'll do the warm up, all of that good stuff. And I'll advance through each of the slides. As I'm doing this, from the student perspective, their slides are switching too. So I will pull up another slide that has that student perspective in just a second. These are just like all of the things that I put in there. So this is the collaboration thing that we're doing, and it looks basically just like a Google Slides window would, but it's still in Nearpod. And as students respond, I can see their answers here, the participation, all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that code again and join as a student so that you can see what this all looks like from their perspective, which I probably should have done in the first place. So on the left-hand side, I have the teacher perspective, and on the right-hand side, I have the student perspective. So students will be prompted to add their name and join the lesson. So once that student signs in and adds their name, they pop up over here on the teacher's list. So I can go ahead and get started. And when I click on that advance button, it advances the student slide as well. So the student can share their warm-up, post it, and it pops right up. Again, this is just a content slide, so that looks the same for both of us. And then we've got Kahoot. So this is actually going to have them open it in its own tab instead of showing up in the Nearpod like the Google Doc did. I guess it's just not compatible, but that's fine. At least it gets them the link. So it will open it up in its own little window for them to play Kahoot. And this doesn't have any of that like navigation bar or anything at the top. It's just Kahoot. So they're not going to like navigate away and get lost in the internet. So I can click on next again. And students have this option over here as well to take notes. So maybe they'll save their notes to their Google Drive. And they'll just have to allow access to do that. So they might take their Nearpod notes here on whatever the topic that I'm presenting on is. And again, this is just a content slide, but students can click on these links in each of the bubbles that I posted. So even though it's just content, those links will take them to where they want to go still. And you can see that kind of when you hover over them, that they are links. And again, because this was an everyone has edit access kind of Google Slides, then the students will be able to edit in this Google Slides presentation that is embedded here. So again, this is just right in Nearpod. They don't have to go anywhere else, but they can do all of their participation. And because it's Google Docs, it kind of updates as we go. So I can see that that has been moved there. And then the last thing was an exit ticket. So it comes up with an open-ended question. They answer the question. And if I wanted to, I could then kind of highlight these responses for the whole class. So if I hit this share button, that will come up on students' screens, on all of their screens. And I can either hide student names or share student names. So if I wanted everyone to know who this response was from, I could show those student names. It's not coming up for whatever reason. Maybe I have it backwards. Nope. Okay. So I guess I couldn't tell you who all of them are from, but if I want to just see the answers and not see who says what, I can hide those names from myself at least. And then when I'm done, I would just close out of the activity. Yes, I want to leave the session. So that is kind of how you go through the whole process of taking your Google Slides, turning them into Nearpod, and then what that looks like on the student end. And again, there are a lot of different activities that you could add depending on your purpose and what you're trying to accomplish. So I only added a few different ones into this particular lesson, but in this one here, I have a lot more. So it kind of just depends day to day what you're trying to get done. If you need any help while you're creating your Nearpod lesson, let me know. I should be able to help you out, but if I can't, I can find somebody that can.